If you are coming to KiCad 6 from KiCad 5 or even an earlier version, then you might be interested in the kind of changes that have been introduced in KiCad 6. Now, this is a big topic actually, so it's not something that I'll be able to explain in just a few minutes. And for this reason, I have written a comprehensive review of KiCad 6 and its differences with KiCad 5 that you can find here on our website. There's the blog and there's the URL. So as you can see, this is a pretty extensive review. There's a lot that's going on, and I encourage you to have at least a quick look or keep it as a reference whenever you need to figure out a change between what you expected to see in KiCad 6 if you're coming from KiCad 5 and what you actually found. There's changes in the user interface, there's changes in the file structure, there's a change in the process of developing PCB compared to KiCad 5. So I also had to adjust my PCB design process schematics for this in this course. So everything's in here. So keep this blog post as a reference if you need to have a look at the details. Now, in a nutshell, I just want to talk about the biggest of the big changes. So that's up here in my KiCad 6 impressions in a nutshell segment of this document. So first of all, there's a totally new file format. The KiCad 6 applications such as EEschema and PCB New are now using a new format called S-expressions notation. This is what KiCad 5 EEschema looked like, not really human readable, but still text. This is what a KiCad 6 EEschema file segment looks like. This is an S-expression example. It's a lot more readable. And this is going to open up the door for KiCad 6 to include a lot more automation and things like plugins that can offer automation, but also new features that the KiCad core developers don't necessarily want to include for whatever reason, but users of KiCad may want to include. They can do that through plugins, and then having a more concise file format like the new S-expressions file format will make this easier to do. So I'm talking a little bit about the S-expression notation here. Another change worth mentioning here as a major change is in the user interface. So across the board, KiCad 6 features a refreshed user interface. You can still recognize the various apps. If you are used to working in KiCad 5, then EEschema would look like this. And then in KiCad 6, it looks like this, which is pretty much the same, isn't it? Yes, it means that you can use your existing KiCad knowledge and jump into KiCad 6, and you can pretty much immediately be effective and productive. You don't have to relearn everything. There's a lot of optimizations. The icons, for example, have been redesigned. The menus and the contents are now much more reasonable in the positions, and then the items that each of these menus contain, they make more sense. There's just one place for preferences. Changes like that have made the KiCad 6 versions of KiCad 5 applications much easier to use and much more reasonable. One thing that I want to mention as well is the schematic editing paradigm, both in EEschema and in PCB New. So in KiCad 5, if you are familiar with it, if you worked with KiCad 5, you know that when you click on an item like a symbol, for example, when you click on it, then you just select it, but you can't really do anything with it. You either have to do a right click or you have to use a shortcut to do things like moving the item around. And this behavior is idiosyncratic for KiCad 5. It didn't match well with the behavior that the user of a modern operating system and modern applications expected. So in KiCad 6, this has been corrected. So it's now possible to simply click on an item such as a symbol, hold your click down, and then just move your mouse around, and that you would expect that the item that you have clicked and held on will move with the cursor. And that is exactly what happens in KiCad 6. But what did not happen in KiCad 5, which did cause a lot of confusion, and you got used to this idiosyncratic behavior and were able to overcome it with a little bit of thinking and training. But then you had to recalibrate when you started using a different CAD application. So all that is now fixed, and KiCad 6 does feel and does behave like other modern CAD applications. All right, so I'm going to leave it at that. If you are interested to know more about the differences between KiCad 5 and KiCad 6, I encourage you to have a look at this article and get all the details. It's probably worth scanning this document at least once.